Hey guys, my name is Matimeo, and recently I've been playing more and more of Red Orchestra 2. I can't get enough of this game. Every time I sit down to figure out what I want to play next, I'm like, well, there's always Red Orchestra 2, and so I go and play more of the game. It provides combat and gameplay that I seriously just cannot get in other major AAA titles out there, and so I find myself gravitating towards it pretty much every day now. Like, I seriously cannot get enough of this title. But one thing that I want to talk about today, and something that really surprised me, is that there is a commander mode in here, much like you would find in Battlefield 4, for example, and I actually like it. The reason why this came as a surprise to me is because the commander in Red Orchestra has a lot of power. If you have a commander that doesn't really know what they're doing, your team is going to have a hard time getting the victory. This is a very team-oriented game, and if you have someone who isn't team-oriented or really isn't doing a good job of communicating to your entire team when you need to push in or letting you know when he's activating certain abilities, it's going to feel nearly impossible for you to capture some of these objectives. And so admittedly, when I learned that there was a commander in this game, I was a little turned off. I thought, oh great, we're gonna give all this power to one player. If he sucks or he just flat out is a raging toxic asshole, then that's gonna be terrible for everyone on my team. Like, that's gonna detract from the experience for 30 other players, and that seems like a flawed game design. Putting all of your eggs into one basket and giving this guy all of this power, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. That hasn't been a problem at all during my playtime. I don't know if I've just gotten lucky. Maybe it's just because I'm new to the game and I haven't really understand the meta. I don't understand the fine details of what makes every single map tick. But so far, everyone has been very accommodating. They've all been very calm and pleasant. And actually, I would say that it has enhanced the gameplay. I have had so many amazing moments where a commander has called in a mortar strike. He lets us all know that he's about to do it, so to kind of hold off on pushing into the enemy objective, he blows up everyone on the objective, or majority of them, the ones that are not inside or hunkered down, for example, and then as soon as the mortar strike stops, we all rush in with 20 people. The enemy front line is in shambles because a lot of them were taken out by the mortar strike. They couldn't reinforce their front line because the mortar strike is falling on down. We're able to push on in and wipe everyone out and secure that objective. It is one of the more exhilarating things to experience because not only is it just exciting gameplay wise, you're rushing in and taking out 1 million people in their bunkers, in their trenches. That alone is really exciting, but also because it makes you feel like you're a part of a team and it makes you feel like you're on an actual battlefield. It really is something to experience. And so what I wanted to do today was talk about the many reasons why I feel the commander mode works so well in Red Orchestra 2, while in other games, like in Battlefield, for example, it's more of an afterthought, it's more of a tacked-on mode that doesn't really enhance anything. And so first of all, if it's not already abundantly clear, this is a much slower paced game. If you are out in the open and someone shoots at you, you're not going to last very long. Like, you're going to be down for the count. And while there are some circumstances where you will live, if they hit you in the arm and you can bandage it up, you're very vulnerable when you run out in the open and you are exposed. And so it's because of that gameplay mechanic that it slows everything down and requires you to think more tactically about certain engagements and about pushing up onto objectives, and it creates more of a front line. You don't really ever get a front line in Battlefield. If you're playing Conquest, for example, you guys know everyone is running in a different direction. People are capturing and defending objectives, you have jets and helicopters up above, tanks driving down below, and it creates this chaotic, fast-paced sandbox gameplay. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the reason why I'm addicted to the Battlefield franchise. It's the reason why I love the Battlefield series. But if you are a commander trying to make sense of that chaos and trying to direct people, it's gonna be impossible. Like, your job is basically just gonna be clicking different squads, telling them to go to objectives that they already know to go capture because they're right next to it, and it doesn't really add anything. But as soon as you have a front line established and things are slowed down and you have to have more of a tactical approach to things, a commander makes a hell of a lot more sense. I have had numerous occasions where I've been on the left-hand side of the map, establishing the front line and making sure that the enemy is getting nowhere near our objectives, but then I hear over voice comm, the commander lets us know that the enemy is making a heavy push on the right-hand side. I then take that information along with a few of my squad mates, we mosey on over to the combat zone, suppress and then slowly push back that enemy advancement. The only reason that occurred was, well, first of all, there is that slower paced gameplay, there is that dynamic flow to the map, there is that front line, but also because of that key communication of the commander. Another reason why I think it works as well as it does in Red Orchestra is because of the gamer that gets attracted to this type of combat. Like I said, it's more of a slow and tactical experience. You're not going to be able to go Rambo. There are a few people that attempt it, but they don't last very long. You're out in the open, you try to make a push all by yourself, you try to get that awesome flank off with no assistance. You might get a few kills here and there, but eventually you're going to be out in the open, or simply you're going to be having to reload or trying to get another bullet in the chamber because you're using bolt action rifles, and eventually you're going to get taken out. The result of this is that Red Orchestra has essentially weeded out all the non-team oriented gamers, and what's left is a saturation of a huge player base that wants to have that tactical experience and wants to work together. And so when you have someone in the commander slot, because you have this great saturation of team oriented gamers, you're gonna find someone who is there not to just get a lot of kills, but they're there because they want to help out their team, and that really just enhances the game overall. And then lastly, and probably one of the most important aspects, is that the commander is only as useful as the team that you're playing on. If you have someone that knows exactly what they're doing in that position, they're calling in mortar strikes beautifully at the right time, they have a recon plane flying over at the opportune moment, all of that can be very beneficial, but if your team is not taking advantage of any of those windows that that person is bringing up, it's useless. Like, if you have a team that does not want to push up on an objective, doesn't matter how awesome that commander is, you are still going to lose. Even with all of that power, all of those abilities at your fingertips, it's going to be completely useless if your team isn't working as a cohesive unit. And so overall, I am still in love with this game, and the fact that the commander is actually useful and doesn't feel useless like it does in other first-person shooters came as a huge surprise. But I'd like to know what you guys think about commander modes in first-person shooters. Do you think that anything can be done for the Battlefield franchise to make it not feel tacked on? Do you think that there can be any way that they could salvage it in a future Battlefield title? Let me know down below. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the Red Orchestra 2 combat. I know that I did. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.